Psychology Assignment 2, Elliot Mills, 4th of June 2014, Year 2 of Development in Coaching and Fitness. Inverted U theory. Looking at low optimal and high arousal, seeing how this affects an athlete's performance. When at low arousal, the performance will be poor. When at optimal arousal, you are at the peak of your performance, and when at high arousal, you will also have a poor performance. An example of this would be a football player taking a penalty. If they had low arousal, they wouldn't be bothered about the penalty and be concentrating on surrounding things such as the crowd and miss the penalty. When at optimal arousal, you'll be able to pick out the top corner and concentrate just on that. When at high arousal, you will kick the ball too hard and possibly miss the penalty because the arousal is too high. The simple skill requires low arousal because there is no need for high concentration or focus, and just need for power, such as making a big tackle in the NFL, where you just have to hit them with the main muscle groups, whereas the complex skills requires a high amount of concentration. For example, putting a golf ball requires focus on different aspects and is a smaller movement and more precise. Different types of sports. There are 3 different types of arousal sports, and first looking at low arousal sport, like darts, where you are looking for precise movement and high concentration so you can keep the focus on the dart throw. That would be the first line closest. The next is medium arousal, and this would be football, where it is a mixture because you have a high arousal when you are making tackles. At the same time, you need to have low arousal to make more precise movements such as a free kick or a pass, because it's more concentration and focus, and this is the second line. The high arousal sport would be more like a shot put, where it uses less concentration and is just one forceful movement. This is the third line going to high. Level of performer. The intermediate performer is able to complete the skills without having high concentration because it comes almost as a second nature because they are used to the skill, but they are not able to cope with the high levels of arousal that the elite performers can cope with, so they wouldn't be able to cope with the big crowds and atmosphere, as it would put them off and they would lose some concentration. The parasympathetic and sympathetic system work together by stabilizing out after a situation occurs, such as a manager shouting at you and your sympathetic system kicks in by the heart rate increasing. But after the shouting has happened, you are quickly going into parasympathetic system symptoms, so your heart and breathing rate decreases as the environment neutralizes. Concentration and attention span. When you are at low arousal, your attention span becomes more broad because you are not focusing on one thing, such as kicking a ball. You will be taking in the crowd and other distractions, whereas optimal arousal, you can just look at the skill and focus clearly on the skill needed. When you are at high arousal, you have tunnel vision, so you are concentrating just on the player that hit you with a hard tackle, and not concentrating on the game around you, and this causes your performance to drop. Stress sporting examples. Eustress in a sporting example would be a player's World Cup final who sees the game as their breaking moment in their career. And de-stress will be you playing against a better team in the final, where you think you won't be winning, but it can depend on the player, as some people thrive off the chance of playing better teams. Catastrophe theory. Starting off at A on the graph, this is when you are at the peak of your performance. And optimal arousal, this means you also have perfect concentration and focus on the sport. Part B is where you have choked and you are low arousal and performance. This means your concentration is at minimal and you are not able to focus on the skill you need to do, and you are easily distracted. Then looking at C, this is when the arousal is too high and your concentration is focusing on one thing, so your performance is low as well. But this theory, as you can see at point D, you are able to recover yourself and restart when your arousal has gone down. This means your performance is building back up again. When you miss a shot or misplace a pass, you start to gain more anxiety because you think you will do it again, and this will lower your performance. Anxiety and stress. State anxiety is temporary anxiety where you are reacting to a certain situation. An example of this in sport would be a bigger player than you marking you, and you would start to become anxious about getting injured, but as soon as he steps away the anxiety will disappear. Trait anxiety. Like the state anxiety, this occurs when you believe there is a threat to you, when you are worried. A sporting example would be the same as the previous, except you would keep thinking about the big player and the next time you go out for a corner, and you would refrain from wanting to go out for a corner. Behavioural is how you respond to a threat that is causing you anxiety, and this can sometimes be like a superstition in sports such as football, where you have the threat of losing in your sport, but you put your boots on a certain way because you believe this is helping you win the game, and because you won the game last time like that.